So, what are men and women looking for, and what are the differences in terms of dating?
So with men, it's a lot less complicated than with women. I always say that female desire is very multi-layered, very complex. And that's not because they're trying to be difficult, that's just how they are. So it's not, a lot of guys kind of think women are just being difficult for the sake of it, or it's to do with ego. It's just how women are hardwired. Women, and they will be, their desire will be complicated in their 50s, 60s, even when they have very limited choice. So with men, they're looking for initially three things. One, looks. That is above all else. And so much so that, because I said they're looking for three things, looks is so important that it can eclipse anything else. It can eclipse all her faults. Whereas with a man, his looks can't carry him through the same way as a woman's looks can. So they're looking for looks, number one. Two is availability. Is she available? And the third one is how compliant is she? Which could be translated to how nice and friendly and open is she? Is she going to give me a hard time? Is this going to be difficult? So they're looking for those three things. Women are looking for the way the man looks, how he makes her feel, how he operates, how he deals with other people, his opinions, his body language, so much more. But mainly it's how does he make me feel? When I'm with him, how do I feel? So that's what they're, I'm not talking about when a man is looking for something of longevity, like a relationship, of course, then he's much more interested in, will she be a good mother? Is she kind? Her political views. Suddenly he's much more interested in identifying what those are. But women are like that from the very start, even if it's just to sleep with a man. They're thinking about all these different things. And your second question was?
No, I actually want to riff off of that, which is in terms of modern culture now, have those kind of evolutionary things changed? We're talking about men looking for fertility, the woman being a good mother. I'm guessing the woman is looking for the man to take care of her, take care of her children, etc. But that's very evolutionary. Have things changed now? Are women more promiscuous, or are those things more steady state?
So women are more promiscuous just because society allows women to be more promiscuous. It doesn't mean that they didn't have those feelings before. They probably just didn't explore their desire and lust before because it was restricted, but it was definitely there. But obviously, if you can't explore it and you can't practice it, then it's kind of limited. What's very important here is that female lust is more powerful than male lust. Now, a lot of people don't agree with that. So I'm going to break this down. And it's very, very important for men to understand that they need to understand this because it will affect their game entirely if they can understand women.
Mhm.
So in the early stages, when a woman feels desire for a man, it's it almost consumes her. It consumes her. She thinks about him all the time. But she's not just thinking about him sleeping with her or what he looks like naked. That's what men do when they're in the throes of desire for a woman. This woman is thinking about, how his day's been, how he gets on with his family, what films he likes. She's thinking about love children with him. Yes, yes, it consumes woman. Lust and desire takes over a woman. Whereas with men, that happens to them when they're in love with a woman. A man's love is far stronger than a woman's love, far stronger. That does not mean women can't love. They do love, but they love in a different way. So when a man falls in love with a woman, have you fallen in love with a woman ever?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so you'll be able to, this will resonate with you, I believe. When they fall in love with a woman, when they finally let go, because does take time for men to let go, when they do and they surrender to it, and I use that word surrender on purpose because it feels like surrendering to something. Everything that woman does is magic. Every little thing she does, the way she's always a little bit clumsy,
Mhm.
the way he makes her laugh. Only he can make her laugh that way. And he looks at that woman and he's thinking, she's mine. She's all mine. It's very, very powerful, man's love. Women do not think that way when they're in love. They think like that in the lust stage, and then they confuse it with love. So when a man, let's take it back, when a man desires a woman, it is very sexual. He's thinking about how can I get her in bed? What do I need to do to get her in bed? And if he's slept with her, all he's thinking about is how do I get her back in bed the quickest way possible? And he compartmentalizes it. A man can really desire a woman, really want to sleep with her, and want to sleep with about 5 or 10 other women also. There might be one that he wants to sleep with more, that's got in his head a little bit, but he can go to work and function normally and compartmentalize those feelings. Not so when a woman desires a man, it takes over. She can't think straight. And she thinks this is so powerful, it must be love. And she almost tricks herself into thinking it's love. Now, when a woman does fall in love, it's more like she cares about him. Not everything he does is magic. She doesn't sit there and go, oh, it's the way I make him laugh. It's nothing like that. It's more like a caring, how you look after a child or something. You care about them. You're good to them. You want the best for them. It's not like how men feel when they're in the throes of love. There is that honeymoon period when they both fall in love with each other. That's amazing. Everyone's like on cloud nine.
Yeah.
But for women, that bursts very, very quickly. If you think about it, men, it's women who are the ones who start having headaches first. The man wants to carry on sleeping with the woman. He's in love with her. She's gorgeous in his eyes. Now, he can find other women attractive, but no one is like that one. Even if these other women are better looking, I see when men are in love, it's something else. And I don't see the same with women. But a woman will get bored very quickly, the sexual part. It wears off, as lust does. Lust wears off. But she will love him. I'm not saying she won't. She'll be committed and she'll love him. But they're both very different, those experiences. Sorry, I went off on a bit of a tangent there. But it's why this is important is because men focus too much on trying to sort of get in the relationship stage when that's not even an option if she doesn't feel desire. So a man can sort of almost fall in love with a woman he's not that sexually attracted to. He's like, yeah, he'd sleep with her, but he could fall in love with a woman because he can see there's certain aspects of her personality that carry longevity, like her kindness, the fact that I often hear men say, when I say, what made you fall in love with your wife? They said, it's when I don't know, some silly story, like she gave me her gloves when it was cold and she was cold. It's something like that. And because they see kindness there, and that's very important for men to have this kind, loving woman. So they're sort of thinking, well, I need to show those qualities then for a woman. Yes, those qualities are good. Nothing wrong with it. You're not going to put off a woman if you show those kind of like qualities. But you need to focus on desire because if desire's not there, forget it. She's not dreaming about you. She's not thinking about you.
And very natural follow-up question is how do you build desire? But I do want to kind of double click on something you said, which is like a vulnerability that men have. Like as soon as a woman shows a certain type of kindness, like I'm cold, she gives me her gloves when it's supposed to be the other way around type of thing, we're immediately thrown in this little matrix of, oh my God, like she's the one, she's the soulmate. Like I've never been treated this way. But I do want to ask that question in a sense of like, do you think that men care about that because there is this kind of cultural thing of men always being alone? They're always being, kind of not, I wouldn't say oppressed by society, but they're left out in the sense of mental health and emotional health. Like nobody really wants to talk about that. Do you think that has anything to do with that?
Possibly, yes. Yes, it affects it in some way, but I think men have always been like this. Men have always looked for the same traits in women.
Okay.
Okay, there's exceptions to rules, and I want to put them to one side. Let's say the 10% are not going to agree with this. They like really bitchy, difficult women. I do know some men, and they say that they like a real psycho bitch. That's their thing. But we're talking about the 10%. It's not important right now
Yeah.
to, give them too much oxygen. The 90% of men, they want kindness because it is to do with the mother, it's to do with the fact that men look at what would be good for my children, what mummy material, they call it,
Mm.
mummy material. My brother, he said when he met my sister-in-law back at university, he said she smiled and he just said mummy material. He said, meaning that You can just see by her smile, everything she's going to be a good mother. And that's very important for men. Even the ones who don't want children as such, they do. There's something about that that triggers something in them. I know since it's very funny since I had my child, which is some time ago now. I thought I'm divorced by the way, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm not going to find anyone if I'm just single mom. But actually, the men who have fallen in love with me since then have said it's the way I am with my child
Hmm.
that did it. It was like, wow, this is a different side of Kezia, and it's really maternal and loving and kind. And so I honestly think that this is what all my students, I ask them, what do you want most in a woman? And the first thing they say is kindness. Women, no, they don't put that so high up on the list. It comes a little bit down the list.
Hmm. Well, thank you for that explanation. I do want to turn to that desire, which is, as a man, how do you build desire in a woman that you're pursuing or that you want pursuing you?
God, I mean, this is the million-dollar question. There's so, I mean, we could be here for hours. There's so many things that you can do to build desire. You have to start off at the beginning, which is making sure that you're calibrated. This is like the number one reason for why guys fail. They don't make verbal mistakes usually. They're not calibrated. So often guys will go on dates and they'll say, look, I don't know what I did wrong, Kezia. I said all the right things. I made her laugh. And she's just like, there's no chemistry. And I know, even though I wasn't there, it's because they weren't calibrated. It was their headspace, their energy, their mood was not aligned with what they were saying. So what it does is it kind of makes the woman feel there's something off about this guy. But because she is not a trained dating coach, she's not going to be able to articulate or break down what it is that he's doing. So she'll just say, there was no chemistry. Now, unless the guy has made a mistake and said something awful or done something which is like really bad, then that's the only reason. That's the only reason it's not calibrated. And that's why inner game is very important. So you have like three levels of game, and you've got the top one, which is the surface stuff, all the fun stuff, conversation, banter, what to say, how to switch it around, all the fun stuff. And then underneath that is the second layer, which is inner game, which some people could put as confidence, your mood, your energy. And that's why people drink a lot, because drink calibrates. It's a quick calibrator. You go in there like, yeah, I have the tiger, and what, and you're playing to win suddenly, and everything's good. But the problem with alcohol is it makes the surface part sloppy. So it gives you that Dutch courage, but you start making mistakes on the surface. You start saying silly stuff and things.
Right.
So I'm not promoting alcohol, but I do get why people drink alcohol, and usually people can't stop at one. That's the problem. Um,
Especially on a date, it's the worst thing when you're you're only supposed to have one and then you end up finishing the bottle and you guys are both slurring.
you're
It's
slurring, and
yeah.
yeah, someone's more drunk than the other one, and they're aware of it. Yeah, you're getting too close to their face. I know.
Yeah, you can smell the alcohol in their breath. It's
The good thing is, if you're
disaster.
both drinking, it cancels each other out, the smell and alcohol. So,
Yeah, I do
um,
want to just before you move on to the to your other point, I do want to say in terms of calibration, it does seem kind of like performance anxiety. Like in the bedroom, you're in your head a lot, and that can cause you to be not, there physically. And I think that that also extends in some way to dates, especially now where a guy is like, oh my God, okay, I'm on the date. I need to make her laugh. I need to check all these boxes. I need to make sure I don't do all of these things. Ketzia's here, Ketzia's here. Like, I need to make sure that I make her proud and put the money and time and energy invested to use. And there's all of these factors. And instead of being present on the date, you're up here or you're out there.
Good point, and that's why you need to do it all the time.
Hmm.
That's why it's not something that you can fix with one day. Going, okay, I've taken Kezia's advice. I know what to say now. You're gonna exactly as you said. It's going to be an anxiety because it's your first time. You want to get it right, and you won't. You'll make mistakes. So you need to keep doing it and doing it and doing it until it's like a reflex. Okay, like that line to come back with when she says A, B, or C to you. Okay, and that's when you become the natural. At the beginning, it is very what's the word when something is, I wouldn't use artificial. It's a word that begins with C and it's on the tip of my tongue. Uh, we'll just say for now, it'll come back to me after this. We'll just say contrived. That's the word. It's contrived, right? Like you're using lines, literally. And I encourage my students to say certain things that I know are going to trigger her interest and then her desire. Um, so it is important that guys keep practicing this again and again, and then it becomes a reflex. And then eventually they don't even have to use those stock and trade lines as a safety net. You know, they can come up with their own things because it starts building, it becomes like a positive feedback loop. You start becoming more confident in yourself because you start getting those better responses and it feeds into one another. So going back to your initial question about creating desire, again, women are not like men. So to get a man to desire you or to get turned on, you can just sort of say something a little bit sexual about yourself, you know, and it's like, oh, you know, they start imagining things and picturing things. With women, it's more about creating, first of all, intrigue. So a bit of mystery about yourself. You want her to be invested in you, emotionally invested in you, also as mentally invested in you. This is how female desire begins. Okay. Unless you are like immediately her type and she's immediately attracted to you, then you have to sort of go around this way of doing it. So women like intrigue. They don't like to second guess a man. They don't like predictability, women. Men quite like it, but women hate predictability. So when a guy says the same thing, the exact same response or the same question as the guy she just had the date with, you know, 2 days ago, it's almost like an ick.
Hmm.
It's almost like, oh, here we go again, you know.
See,
Same
I,
question.
I need to double click on the ick thing because I've heard that so much from both guys and
I
girls.
will.
I don't, not that I don't understand it, but that was not a thing 5, 10 years ago, or maybe it wasn't kind of, there wasn't vocabulary for it. What is the ick? And how does that ruin dating?
It's always been there. I didn't suddenly hear the word and say, I've got the ick now. I said, this is the perfect word when
Hmm.
I heard it first. I said, this is summed up so much of when I've been like, it's a recoil. You feel like someone says something and it's very hard to explain why. Usually because it feels either predictable, you felt it coming, you've seen it before, or it felt very, very inauthentic. That's usually the two things. And the icks that women get are different to what men get, I've noticed. So, for instance, I did a video about this. My friend, he's on the dating app Raya, which is a really, you know, the so-called celebrities are on there apparently. And he showed me some of the girls that he's meeting, and I saw one, and she was like, had this whole video done of her riding a white horse on the beach, slow motion. And I just said, doesn't that give you the ick? And he's like, no, all I can see is she's hot. And women are, so if women saw a very good looking man doing that shit, be like, oh, it's try hard. But men don't care. It's very interesting. Men do not care if a woman's trying hard and stuff like that. It's like, is she hot? Is she hot? Is she hot? Right? That's it.
Yes,
It gets to the bottom. It goes to
exactly.
the back. Is she hot? But for women, it's like, oh, he was hot until he did that. He was hot until I saw him make so much effort. Like, please, you're a man. Don't do that. So that's what I mean by ick. I can give some more examples. Like, okay, an ick is a man who says, "I've got you all worked out." To me, if
What?
he
Okay.
said, "I've got something
Yeah.
about you I've just figured out," that's cool. I love that, and I teach my students to say that. So, I've got you all figured out. It's just like, no, you don't, and you're, ugh, and then they start getting it terribly wrong, and
Yeah.
then backtracking. That's another thing. Don't backtrack, guys.
See, not that I don't understand this, because I know that everybody has their own growth mentalities and their own learning curves. I get that. But certain things I hear, like saying, I've got you all figured out, I would never say that to a female. Like, it would never even come to my mind to say that. And a lot of the things that guys are doing on dates and saying to women or men or whatever. But a lot of the things that guys are saying are just like, what made you think that this is a good idea? Are men kind of like this raw diamond that need to be shaped and like the forces of society need to shape them and then slowly but surely they end up becoming the diamond? Or like has something gone wrong where they're consuming too much Instagram, too much TikTok? They're not being told no, they're not being, kind of molded in a certain way. And so they're going out into society and saying literally whatever they want to women. And then all of these horror stories are coming about. My question is coming to, I don't understand how guys have gone and strayed so far from common sense when it comes to dating and are just comfortable saying whatever they want.
Ooh, a lot to unpack there. I think it's not necessarily one thing that's doing this. I think men have always made mistakes with stuff that they've said. I've known, like, I was dating in the 90s. I'm old. And men were making mistakes then. It's just that it's one of those things that either you got it or you don't, or you learn it.
Yeah.
You learn it. There are guys out there who are naturals and they've probably seen their friend do something and they thought, oh, that sounded good. I'll do it too. But they don't have, again, they're not calibrated like the other guy. The other guy is like, if he did that, he probably doesn't give a care. If the girl
Yeah.
says, yo, you haven't figured me out. He'll probably, either say something funny, or he'll be like, yes, I do, shut up. So like he'll I'm not saying that's good, but it will be calibrated. It will be authentic. It will be him. Like I've had guys speak very dominantly to me, and it's because it's authentic from them.
Mhm.
It's how they are. It's how they are, and they're not intimidated. But it's when you're trying to pretend to be uh,
Something you're not.
if you're not a dominant guy and you are more introverted or something, let's work with that. That's good. Women love introverted guys. My friend, he put on his Rare account. He just put he wasn't getting any matches, and all he did was change his bio to introvert. Nothing else.
Mhm.
Flooded, flooded.
See, okay, so let's turn to dating apps just for a quick second. Are they a make
I
or
hate,
break?
I hate dating. I hate everything about them. And I'm still
Okay.
trying to get my friend off Raya. I am working hard on it.
Why do you hate dating apps?
They've ruined everything. They've ruined everything. I think people are incredibly unhappy with them on the whole. I think, they were sold as a silver bullet and a quick solution. But I see all my friends who are on dating apps are getting nowhere. They're going on multiple dates, and it's just because if you've got like this little catalog in your phone of endless women or endless men, everyone's replaceable. So I'm going to use my friend who's on Raya. He is getting on dates with nines and tens. I kid you not, nines and tens, gorgeous women. And I said, well, you wanted a relationship from this. Why are you just going on one date here and there? And it said because there's just a next girl and a next girl. So even the ones who are like the top 2% are not getting anywhere because everyone's replaceable. So before that, you'd meet someone, and if they were a nine or a 10, you'd be like, I'm investing in this person. I'm not going to start going and looking. I'm going to give this one a go. But everyone is so replaceable now because of the dating apps. And yet, the people I know who are not on dating apps, they're getting much better results because when they actually meet someone and invest time in them, that other person goes on a date with them, it feels people want to meet in real life rather than through an algorithm. They want to have that story. But they are more invested in that date and getting to know that person because they don't have that catalog in their pocket that they can flip through later. Also, I think, and I'm sorry if you're on dating apps, I don't mean this as, to be
It's not a
insulting.
diss. Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest. I think it's unmasculine.
Mm.
I think men going for what they want, approaching a woman in a bar or whatever it is, just going out, saying, I'm going to get laid tonight. Just even something as crude as that taking action, being proactive is very masculine. I think going out and sort of being like, oh, what's the point? And then going back getting in your pajamas, scrolling through a phone, thinking that you're being proactive when really you're being inactive, convincing yourself that, yep, I put in the hard work now. I don't think that's masculine. I think men should go up and say, right, let's have some chance encounters today. And just not being on a dating app, it makes you always look your best because you never know what you're going to see. You start being more creative. You start thinking, where should I go? Where is it target rich? All my friends on dating apps, you know what they do? My girlfriends, they have dinners together. They go to places where I said, where are the single men? What are you doing? Why are you like spinsters talking to each other, like cat ladies, around a table talking, having lunch and dinner together? Be where the men are. They have these lunches and dinners. They go to bars or restaurants. And they're like, well, I've got the dating apps. And when I do take out my female friends, I go, look around you. It's a very half-hearted feeling. Like it's a very like, what's the point? And the men are like that too. Men who are on dating apps go to target low, target poor bars, clubs, because they're just not in that head zone. They're not creative. They're not thinking like, let's get laid. Where are we going to go now? They've got their dating app. I think they've ruined everything. I personally am not on them because I've got a big ego. I don't want to be replaced. I don't want to be sitting there competing with 500 other women. Um, you know, do you know like Battersea Dogs Home? It's a dogs home that we have in London. You probably have the same concept where you are, where you go and rescue a dog. So what happens is this is what the dating apps remind me of.
Mhm.
I was on one for 2 weeks. 2 weeks I was on one. I got off it so quick. I couldn't bear it. It was back in 2021 or 22. And so when you go into the dog's home, all the dogs, what they do is they put their noses up against the cages, like pick me, I'm the cutest one. And then, someone's like selecting which is the cute, which one should I have? I was like, that's what it felt like to me. That was like a visceral reaction to it. I was like, I'm not doing this, no way. And plus, I'm better in person than in photographs and bios and texts. So
Yeah, it's strange how fast dating apps just completely fizzled out. Like I know so many people that are on it, but they all hate it. It's like a drug that you know is bad for you that you
slot
hate
machine.
doing.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's a
slot
slot machine. It's
keep
gambling at the end of
feeding
the
into
day.
it, feeding in and hoping for that jackpot because you
Yeah.
hear the stories. You hear like, oh, I met my match. You know why that person met their match? Because they lowered their criteria. They
Mm.
expanded their search. First of all, they went in there going, I want a 5'7" blonde with big boobs, slim. And then it went to, you know what? Doesn't have to be slim. Doesn't have to be blonde. Doesn't have, she can be 40. It's fine. And everyone starts getting more and more desperate and
Mhm.
starts expanding their search options. And
It's
it's big. It's the biggest con. It is such a con, the whole thing, and it's ruining people. People, if you, they can text each other, and then you meet them and think, "What a weirdo!" Like they can't hold a conversation.
Yeah, but it's also something where dating apps for an introvert, because I'm very introverted, but I learned how to approach women, I learned how to talk, I learned how to do all of those things. But at the beginning, you're always in your head of like, see, I'm introverted, and so as you're beginning to approach women, you immediately think, oh, she's going to say no, she's going to start recording me, and like everybody's going to laugh at me. Like that's what you start worrying about. And then you start doing it, and you're like, okay, this was just like she said no, but it was just like, hey, sorry, I have a boyfriend, or hey, sorry, all of these things.
Yeah.
It's incredibly easy to do, but for some reason, and not for some reason, I'm sure you'll illuminate it, but guys just don't want to approach for fear of massive rejection, massive failure. They don't want their egos or self-esteem lowered. And I think men do have a responsibility to take on the dominant role, to take on the approach, but also maybe there's a responsibility for women to like welcome it more. Is that fair?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it does depend on the man's approach. If the woman's going to welcome it.
Fair.
If he's approaching her badly, if she's in a bar or a club, you know why she's there. Okay,
Mhm.
let's cut the shit. She is there because she wants to meet a guy. Okay, that's it. I mean, there's some that are dragged there because it's their friend's birthday and they've got a boyfriend or something. Fine, but single women are there to meet guys. So it's not like you're bothering her or something. It's just that your approach wasn't very good. Your
Mhm.
approach was bad, or you didn't deal with her rejection properly. So, quick tip, for instance, let's say you approach a two set and she says politely, I'm sorry, we're having a private conversation here. Always use that as an opportunity. Everything's an opportunity. Even rejection is an opportunity. And I have a lot of stories about guys who turn the worst rejections into long-term girlfriends. So going back to this, so let's say she says, look, sorry, we're just catching up here. No thanks. Rather than walking away and or saying something nasty or apologizing, just say, yep, cool, no problem. But I just wanted to say, I think you're absolutely gorgeous. Have a wonderful evening. Now, why would you say that? First of all, it's unexpected.
Hmm.
Okay. Again, guys out there, women love the unexpected. Women love the guy who's like, what do I do with this information? What do I do with this data that leave her feeling like that? But also, if you do it and you show regal like confidence, you're showing her, you're giving a little taste of what she's missing. And then you walk off. Oh, wow, that was interesting. And she sees you talking with other people and having a good time. Now, sometimes we get our students to do this. The girl has immediately said, "Oh, my bad, come join us." Actually, or they've sort of tried to re-engage eye contact, or they've actually gone up to the guy and said, "Hey, I was a little bit rude back then. So I was in the middle of something." Because the fact of how now it doesn't work all the time. Sometimes the girl's like, "Whatever." But the worst case scenario is that the guy has gone with his confidence completely intact and his energy is still up there. So when he approaches the next girl, he's not like in this deflated energy.
Yeah.
Very, very important for all beginners out there. You have to, and this is the hardest part of game, but it is achievable. It does take time, is to be completely emotionally detached from not just the outcome, but the process. Okay. So if something goes wrong, obviously we don't like it when we get rejected. I'm not saying you should just smile about it. No, but don't take it personally. That's a big difference. Okay. So being sad about something and taking it personally are very different. If you take it personally and think this is an attack on you, all women are bitches, you start coming up these big kind of thought processes, such as big statements like "I'll never do well with women." Women just don't. Women just don't like me. I'll never understand women. Like, why is she talking to that guy there? I'm clearly better looking. That's taking it personally, and that means you cannot reflect, correct, continue. I always say to my students, reflect, correct, continue. So you reflect, okay, how could that have gone better? You blame yourself. Again, that's not taking it personally, okay, not in an emotional sense. It's making you go, okay, what could I have done better to change that? Yes, she was a bitch, fine. How do I deal with bitches? That's literally how you have to be reptilian about this.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll do that next time. She said that, okay, I'll try this. And it becomes like a puzzle that you need to figure out. I'll give you an example in a different kind of capacity. Is I'm very bad at learning languages. I'm really, really bad. And my father is very good at learning languages. He learns languages in like a month. Incredible brain. He's a genius. Like he's got a Mensa or something. I don't know, something like that. He works out puzzles, cryptic crosswords. He can't follow a film for shit. Like he doesn't know what's going on in a film. But this kind of stuff he's brilliant at. And I said, Dad, what is your secret? What is your secret? And he's like, I approach languages with interest and like a game that needs to be won.
Hmm.
You approach them, Kezia, with, I have got to get, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to learn this language. Fuck everyone. It's very emotional.
Yeah.
And his just like, no, it's fun. Let's have some fun and, let's figure it out. And that's what you're going to do with game. You've got to see it literally as a game of chess. What do I do next? What's my next move? And you've got to do this big smile, just like, right, bring it on. It's fun.
And yet you have to, again, be detached from the process and the outcome, but also in an ironic way, also just be interested in the process and the outcome as well.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. It's okay. So be detached from it emotionally in the negative sense, okay, of how it could hurt you. Um, and keep more like it's a game. It's something to be worked out. There's a formula. I need to get this formula. Let's
Yeah.
work it out, we're going to hit some bumps in the road, and we're going to laugh about it. You got and humor is amazing, by the way, with this kind of stuff. Like when a guy doesn't like me for whatever reason, I turn it into a big joke in my head. Like
Mhm.
it's a me and my friends will have crack a joke about it. Okay, not like we don't say, "Oh, I never like." If a guy doesn't like me or something, or a relationship breaks out, I never go, "Oh, I hate him. He's
Yeah.
such an asshole." Blah blah. I kind of just wrap it up with some humor, and then I process of what I need to do better next time for my next relationship. I don't hold any bad blood for any of my past relationships. I learned from all of them, and that means it's very important because I'm not bringing baggage,
Mhm.
unresolved baggage to the next relationship. I am perfecting it. I'm perfecting myself and how I have a relationship with people. And that's what men should do when it comes to talking to women. Like it's just keep perfecting it. And you're gonna have a week where it's all going wrong, your energy's off. Big whoop, do not catastrophize it. Women catastrophize, men should never catastrophize. You want to be an
Mhm.
alpha male, catastrophizing is not allowed because alpha males, which someone doesn't talk about, is they're very positive people. They're
Yeah.
solution based. They are glass half full people.
I,
They
I,
don't
I
think
wanted to
alone.
turn I
Sorry.
wanted to turn to alpha males, but we don't have enough time. But I do want to just quickly touch on like the red pill community and like this hatred of women in some way. It's something that I've seen and I've never understood of like a woman rejects you, so you just hate all women. And I've never understood this kind of proclivity to treat women in a certain way, like be condescending, be arrogant, be narcissistic, have a big ego in dating, because that to me doesn't calculate towards what you're trying to do, which is create a relationship, nurture something, hopefully meet someone that you really like, maybe have kids if that's on the table. How do we get men out of this? Is it just by teaching them that this is not successful, or is there something else?
I think a lot of those people in the red pill community are very damaged people, and I'm not laughing at them. They've gone through something with a woman. It's a particular woman usually, and she's let him down or hurt him in some way. And what he's done, I'm going to say he for now rather than they, because it doesn't apply to all. He's kind of like, it's made him tougher and harder. And it's kind of, he feels that served me well. He starts getting ripped, and, he becomes much more of a straight talker, harder person. And in his head, it's like, yeah, that's winning, that's strength. But really, I just see people who are hurt, who are in pain, and they're using their platforms to, almost get rid of that pain, purge that pain, share out that pain with other people. So it can, it's a way, it's kind of like a therapy for them. I think it's kind of deep stuff like that with these red pill guys. I think also they've got a real hatred for older women. I've noticed. Now that's interesting. It's like, but if you don't like older women, don't even mention it. Like, don't even like. Why would you even talk about them if you don't fancy older women? They get insane about young men that like older women. They get insane about it. I get like, 'cause I'm an older woman. They're like, "Oh, can't you see she's an older woman?" Yeah, there are guys out there who like milfs. So the thing with the older woman, I think, is because the woman that hurt them is an older woman. Like they're an older guy now.
Mhm.
And I honestly, this is just a theory, but I hear some of them going, I'm looking after the kid now. It's like that shit for you. That shit. And that woman is probably now with some younger guy and you're pissed off about it. And it's horrible. It's horrible what happened to them. But I think anybody that's doesn't like women, that is teaching men how to attract women, is if it's coming from a bad place, let me put it this way. If I met a woman who hated men, I would block my ears. I do not want advice from that woman. These are like a lot of these men are like the male equivalent of cat ladies,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
But
know.
they don't like to hear that.
But they are, and I think they just need to accept that they've gone through an emotional breakup with somebody. It was years ago. Get on with it. You know, just if you like younger women, cool, do you go with young women? But if some men like older women, who cares? Just teach them game. That's what we're here for. Just teach them the steps, teach them how to attract women.
Yep.
A lot of these guys also, the funny thing is, they talk about how all women are gold diggers and prostitutes and they have high body counts. It's like, yes, but if you don't like those kind of women, then don't go with them. Don't
Yeah.
just go with the girls you like. Just go with them. I don't understand. Like, I like young men. I like very, very young men. But I don't preach to women, go, you must like young men too. I can give a whole wide list of reasons why younger men are more attractive.
Mm.
But I don't give a shit. Like, just do you to women. So, like I said, if someone is coming from a bad place, if I was seeking advice from a woman who hated men, I just wouldn't do it. I would not do it. I want to go to a woman who has done very well with men, who has a good success rate, or I go to a man who's honest, who's really honest and can talk about how to really get into a guy's head. I find that very interesting.
Yeah, the emotional intelligence is very important. And it feels like a lot of people, they work on their physicality, they maybe work on mental training, but they never even touch their emotional training, which is kind of a lost cause.
And also, you do have to understand that female attraction, female desire is about tapping into their emotional realm, their emotional buying motives, not their rational buying motives. That's more for men. See, so they're coming in from a male perspective, and then they're teaching what works on men.
Yeah.
You've got to look your best. Of course, you should look your best, but women are less um, dominated by physicality, and men, it's much more about tapping into their emotional frequency. And I don't see any of them teaching that.
Yeah, I wish we had more time.
I just hope they get well. I hope they get well soon.
Just as a last question, how should, I guess, Gen Z deal with dating advice and dating influencers? Is it a make or break thing? Is it kind of like, you have to critically think about it?
I think with Gen Z, the problem is that they're consuming uh, very short videos about this subject. They don't not interested in deep dives. I do deep dive videos, long, go into a lot of detail about, how to build desire and attraction. Gen Z, they like, the top tip of the day, 3 tips. Let's put it in a 20-second TikTok video soon, quick as possible. And they think, right, that's it. That little nugget there, that's gonna get me results. I think Gen Z, from what I can tell, are a lot less proactive. They're much more, they like to stay indoors a lot more. I have like nieces, and I went to their house. I was like, what the fuck are you doing at 16, sitting around your mum and dad, you loser? Like, I
Yeah,
was out at 16, and they're like, oh, they're just hanging out in the house. Like,
yeah,
go out. Go out, and I would never want to be with my mom and dad at 16. They're becoming homebodies, Gen Zs. It's like all about
yeah.
being cozy inside, gaming, eating a lot. This is not, I think I have a lot of faith in Generation Alpha. They are going to absolutely turn the tables. Generation Alpha are completely different to Gen Z, completely different. They are thinking different. They are rebelling against their millennial parents massively. Gen Z have sort of conformed with their millennial parents. They've conformed with them. But Generation Alpha, they are done. They are done with all of it. They're rebelling against it all. So I have hope. Let's leave it on a happy note.
Absolutely. Yep.
Hope.
Yeah, there's hope. Kezia, thank you so much for this conversation. Where can we find you online?
My website, kezia-noble.com, and also you can there's a link there for my YouTube channel and, of course, my 7-day mastery program.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.